Good evening, my teacher. I will like jump into my vlog. This is the vlog too, and I'm reading the book An Elegy for Israeli by Bettina Gappa, who herself lived in Zimbabwe. Okay, so let's go. I will start to answer the question where and when was this book written, and how can I say that? So, the writer of this book is Bettina Gappa, and the book was published in USA in May 2009. But the short stories, I don't know exactly when they take place. But okay, so the short stories in this book is about different characters in the same country, Zimbabwe, who all together are struggling to live under Robert Mugabe's regime. But first, he wasn't president first. No, he started with ruling as a prime minister from 1980 until 1987. So in 7 years, and then he leveled up and became a president from 1987 until actually this year, 2017. Mm. So it takes place like somewhere I think around 1987 and until this year. And okay, so the investigation in geographic, historical, and social background will come now. Okay, I start with the geographic. This character is living in Harare, which is the capital city of Zimbabwe. And the source is from page 59 from the book. And people talked about one character, Emily, who got hospitalized to the hospital in Gucheni, in the place Harare, the capital city, after committing a suicide attempt. So that is partly how I could tell that all these stories takes place in Zimbabwe, because it's more than just one story in this book, which is good for the perspective. It gives a wide perspective for us who reads. So it is good. Thumb up. Okay, the historical backgrounds is that this country, Zimbabwe, is a colonial. No, sorry, it has a colonial history, and now it's post-colonial, and the people are like keen to stay strong and united because they will. The last thing they ever want is to be colonial again, which I really understand. It must have been really tough. And the colonial made these people poor and limited to follow their dreams in life. And this information I got from page 63 in the book. And like I told you about Emily, who tried to commit suicide, she and her family describes their home Zimbabwe like it's no tourists anymore who is visiting the place. They have been pretty much isolated from the rest of the world as effect from the colonial times. And the book describes the consequences of no tourists and a total isolation to the world as a bad effect for the habitats, which have been leading to poverty, more poverty for every day that comes. That's bad. That's really bad, actually. Sad to hear and read about. All this I got from the page 62 in the book. I've been using the book real much as a reference. And now to the social settings. Different groups. What kind of social groups? So if I just throw them up here, the hatred of women, mis, miso, misogyny, I think it's misogyny, misogyny, yeah, and darker skin, and the which is not because they not only because the darker skin, but the darker skin people comes from the country Zimbabwe, apparently, who was a colonial country, so they automatically are affected of this social split. The okay, I will jump into it now. Sorry. Okay, so because when Emily, the character in the book, stood at the airport, she saw like people who is happily, families with less problems, like they're coming from a country without isolation and colonial issues, like London, compared to Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe is a really poverty place, a country of poverty. Yeah, and the I think it's Emily's brother, Peter, who has the brightest skin in the family. That should not be the reason who will define if you're gonna succeed in life or not. But it was. He was the person in the skin, sorry, in the family, the only family member with the lightest skin, so he had automatically the best chances to succeed. So his family sent him to London, and he got killed there, unfortunately. But I don't know if it was a suicide because I haven't been reading the book, the part in the book where they reveal, no, where they, yeah, reveal. But let's say that he got killed because I think that's the destiny of many people from African countries who travels to other places because it's racist everywhere, or it was racism everywhere. Like people looked at people from Africa or with African roots with disgust, and that is disgusting. Okay, so let's talk about misogyny, women hatred, and it was frequently the women who suffered most. Like the people at the time had a way to treat a woman with disrespect. And in several other stories, husband kept like small houses for their secret mistresses, even though they were married. Like in the chapter in the book called "In the Heart of the Golden Triangle," I recited a brief evis evis evisceration of the life of the rich housewife living in a exclusive area of Harare. So it was not only poor people in Harare. It existed like really exclusive areas, and that's good for the book because it will make like a portrait of both poor and rich people. Yeah. Okay. So. Oh yeah, sorry, I will keep this short. But when Emily and Jonathan was at the airport, they got confronted really bad, like in a really discriminating way. It was shown when Jonathan and Emily had to stand in a separate line to conversate with the staff, I think, and the staff didn't even look them in the eye, and that says a lot of the racism and hostility caused by the colonial times. And get to my conclusion, I think people are, or were, still are, afraid to, or like afraid of others' unfortune in life, and they are afraid that their unfortune will affect themselves, and therefore they turn their back. You know what I mean? Like, because I think it's a survival effect. If we get weakened by people who is already weakened from the harsh society, for instance, and war and colonials, we only open ourselves just to get affected by their own burden. At least that's how I think people thought at the time, or part of it. Um, like, people turn their back when they really should include one another and show the kindness that we have within us. But yeah, and to know that for like the people that was so lucky to be born with a bright skin tone at the time, I think I wish they could have been like more aware of, or like focus on the thought that we should not take for granted that we're lucky to be born with the right conditions to survive, which means a brighter skin tone, because it will automatically be much more easier for the bright skinned people than the dark skinned people to survive in a society of a post-colonial time. Um, so, an elegy for Easterly tells us about the life of rich and poor, caught up in events over which they have little control. And Gappa, the writer, has been praised for movingly conveying the sheer awfulness of living, or life being destroyed by the ruined economy and HIV and AIDS, HIV and AIDS. But she's also writing about joy and laughing, because that's important to remember to do, laugh in these dark times. So Petina Gappa, her characters may have like ordinary hopes and dreams, but they are living in a world where a loaf of bread costs like $500,000, where wives can't even trust their husband because they're afraid of HIV, and they struggle with the larger issues common to all people everywhere, like failed promises, unfulfilled dreams, and the yearning for something to anchor them to life. So we have different struggles, and we all have issues shown in different ways. And this book was really giving me a good perspective. And creds to Petina Gappa. Peace out.